All right, it has started recording.
Well, welcome to the Washington State Public Disclosure Commission's brief enforcement hearing for April 21st, 2022. We have a series of group enforcements, mostly around lobbyist reporting and some modifications. So I will recognize Jennifer. You're going to do the talk, Jennifer, or Tabitha is? The introduction.
Tabitha will do the interjection. Do you want to get the swearing in of the three of us staff members?
I can do that first. Yeah, let's get that out of the way. In accordance with court rules and Washington's laws against perjury, do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll be giving today is the truth?
I swear.
I swear.
I swear.
Perfect. Then, Tabitha Blacksmith, give us an introduction of what we're doing today.
Thank you. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of the enforcement process that we used for the lobbyist for today's hearing. Today's brief adjudicated proceeding, or BAP, concerns lobbyists whom PDC staff allege have violated RCW 4217A615 by failing to file or timely file one or more lobbying expense annual reports, or L2 reports, for 2021. These L2 reports were due to be filed with the PDC no later than the 15th day of each calendar month, disclosing lobbying activities in the previous calendar month. The group enforcement timeline for this group of folks is as follows. PDC staff emailed lobbyists monthly reminders following the months in which lobbying activity occurred, but had not been reported on L2 reports. Then in February 14th of 2022, PDC staff emailed warning letters to the lobbyists regarding their missing L2 reports for 2021. Prior to emailing warning letters, PDC customer service staff also reached out to 11 lobbyists regarding their missing L2 reports and were able to assist many of them in updating their registration and reports. On March 14th, PDC staff mailed and emailed hearing notices to lobbyists regarding their missing L2 reports for 2021, including the option to resolve their case by submitting the missing reports online and mailing a signed statement of understanding, or SOU, and a $100 civil penalty payment to the PDC postmarked no later than April 11th of 2022. A resolved cases report for lobbyist L2 reports that is appended to this brief enforcement hearing case list, also known as the GE case list, shows the cases that PDC staff have resolved prior to today's hearing, either through an SOU or closed administratively. So the remaining cases, the remaining lobbyist cases are grouped into categories on the brief enforcement hearing case list that you have based on similar fact patterns.
All right. So are we ready to begin with Vicki Lowe?
And Vicki Lowe, if you are on the line, if you would unmute yourself and let us know that you're available. It sounded like you were able to hear you for a moment. Is that you, Ms. Lowe?
Yes, it is.
Oh, excellent. Okay, Ms. Lowe, the staff person will present your information. You will be sworn in, and then you'll be able to make a statement.
Thank you.
All right. So I will be presenting the participants who filed, well, the known participants who filed their reports prior to the hearing and have no prior violations. This is PDC case 105281 against Vicki Lowe. Vicki Lowe was an active lobbyist during 2021. Staff is alleging that Vicki Lowe violated RCW 4217A615 by failing to file or timely file the one or more lobbyist expense. Sorry, we have a typo here. One or more monthly lobbyist report, L2, for 2021. The L2 reports were due to be filed with PDC no later than the 15th day of each calendar month. Vicky Lowe filed the missing L2 report on March 15th, 2022. She has no prior violations with the PDC. As we noted, she is participating. Staff recommends finding a violation of RCW 4217A 615 of her failing to file or timely file one or more L2 reports and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37143 for a filer with no prior violations who filed the L2 report by the date of the hearing. That penalty would be between $0 and $150. And we'd ask Ms. Lowe to offer her input.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Mr.
Okay?
Chair, did you want to swear Ms. Lowe in before she makes her statement?
I will do so. Ms. Lowe,
Yes.
hold 1 second. In accordance with court rules and Washington State's laws against perjury, do you, Vicky Lowe, swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll be giving today is the truth?
I do.
All right. What would you like to add and share with us today?
I would just like to share that I attempted to file my November 2021 L2 report and somehow managed to file my November 2022 report instead. I don't know how it let me move ahead a year. So my intent was to file the report. I did try to. I'm sure that what happened was completely my fault. And when I got notice, I tried again in February, on February 14th, to fix it. I worked with staff who pulled the report out, and then I tried it again, and somehow it ended up being 2022 again. And then when I got the notice in March, I was finally able to do it right. So I guess my argument is that I wasn't trying to not file my report. It was just mostly, I would say, incompetence on my part for using the website. And that's what I'd like to add. Thank you.
So Jennifer, is there a reason we didn't come to a statement of understanding on this case?
Well, I wanted to point out too that Ms. Lowe also provided written information, which you already had an opportunity to look at, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I'm not sure why, but maybe Ms. Lowe would like to speak to that. She's just listed as someone who didn't take that offer.
Ms. Lowe?
I think maybe I didn't understand the offer. I'm sorry. I thought my choices were pay a fine or come to the hearing.
Well, typically what we do is have a statement of understanding that you understand that you did not file in the appropriate way. And that can then be with or without a fine, as the case may be. Usually that's negotiated with the staff beforehand.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't understand that.
I said usually that process is negotiated with the staff beforehand. You have that opportunity. I'll tell you where.
I didn't understand the letter is what I was saying. Sorry.
I'll tell you the ruling that I'm thinking about, and I'll run this by Jennifer and see if it makes sense to her, is that we find that I ask staff to waive the penalty if there is a statement of understanding that is signed to close the case.
So, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure that would work, because the statement of understanding is, as Ms. Lowe understood, at least partially, was to avoid the hearing, to admit to a violation, pay a penalty to avoid the hearing. Those that end up before you are typically those who feel like their circumstances warrant something other than admitting a violation and receiving a penalty. We could go the route which you've gone before of possibly suspending the portion of her, finding a violation, but but suspending all of the penalty based on future compliance, you've done that in the past, and that's within
So
your.
let's go that way. I will find that there is a violation and establish a fine of $100 and suspend the $100 pending 4 years without any further violations, and understanding that the appropriate forms have been filled out and entered.
Thank you.
So, and Ms. Lowe, you will receive an order indicating that exact information to you, so that you'll know when that begins and all of that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very
And
much.
and if you're done, you may hang up if you'd like, or you can stay on if you'd rather do that.
Okay.
Thank you,
awesome.
Ms. Lowe.
Thank you. All right, bye.
And that brings us to
The next one, Mr. Chair, is Mike Pugsley. He was a known phone participant, and I heard that he was on the phone, so we can go to him if you would like. Same thing applies, Mr. Pugsley. If you would stay silent for a moment, your information will be presented by staff. You'll be sworn in, and then you can make your statement.
All right, so this case is PDC case 105253 against Mike Pugsley. Mr. Pugsley was an active lobbyist during 2021. Staff is alleging that Mr. Pugsley violated RCW 4217A615 by failing to file or timely file one or more monthly lobbyist report for 2021. The L2 reports were due to be filed with the PDC no later than the 15th day of each calendar month, disclosing lobbying activity for the previous calendar month. Mr. Pugsley filed the missing L2 report on March 31st. He has no prior violations. He is participating. In this case, staff recommends that we find a violation of RCW 4217A615 for failing to file or timely file one or more L2 reports and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 3937143 for a filer with no prior violations who filed the L2 reports by the day of the hearing. That penalty would be between $0 and $150.
Mr. Pugsley, are you on the line?
Yes.
So, Mr. Pugsley, in accordance with Washington State court rules and laws against perjury, do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you will be giving today is the truth?
Yes, I do.
What would you like to share with us today?
Well, I just want to note that I have no prior what may be considered violations, and so I, like to stay in good standing. And my circumstances were that I did not receive the emailed notices because they all were going to my junk mail. So I really was kind of surprised when I got the hard copy in the mail of the notifications. So I have rectified that. Once I figured out what had happened, our IT person, I believe, rectified that. So, but I'm not sure why those notifications would go to junk mail. Is that because they're like just a big batch goes out, so it looks like junk mail?
I don't know why your system would look at it that way. We don't have that problem very, very frequently.
Yeah, it's pretty surprising. Anyway, I think my patterns show that I've always tried to be current with my reporting. So anyway, that's really all I have to say about it. Is my intentions are always to be current and have all my reports in place on time.
Well, I will find that you did violate 4217A and will establish a fine of $100, and I will suspend that for pending full compliance over the next 4 years.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing with us today, Mr. Pugsley.
All right. Thank you.
And then, Mr. Chair, we have another person. Those were the only two that we knew were going to participate, but we have someone else on the line that has a 206 area code. Could you unmute yourself and let us know who you are so we can find you on the agenda?
My name is Lee Nugent.
Okay.
That's our next case.
Thank you, Mr. Nugent. You are next on the list. So if you will hold on a moment, staff will present your information and then you'll have an opportunity to be sworn in and make a statement.
Yes, thank you.
Jordan.
All right. Well, this actually worked out beautifully because he was next on the agenda. This is PDC case 105261 against Lee Nugent. Mr. Nugent was an active lobbyist during 2021. Staff is alleging that Mr. Nugent violated RCW 4217A615 by failing to file or timely file one or more monthly lobbyist expense reports. Those are the L2 reports for 2021. The L2 reports were due to be filed with the PDC no later than the 15th day of each calendar month, disclosing lobbying activity for the previous calendar month. Mr. Nugent filed the missing L2 report on April 14th, 2022. He has no prior violations. We didn't know he was participating in the hearing, but now he is. And PDC recommends that we find a violation of RCW 4217A615 against Mr. Nugent, for failing to file or timely file one or more L2 reports and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37143 for a filer with no prior violations who filed the L2 reports by the day of the hearing. The penalty in that case would be between $0 and $150.
Okay, so I should begin by acknowledging that I am acquainted with Mr. Nugent, but I do not feel that that will affect my ability to rule in this case. And so with that, Mr. Nugent, in accordance with Washington's court rules and laws against perjury, do you, Lee Nugent, swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll be giving today is the truth?
I do.
Proceed. What would you like to share with us, Lee?
This is all I was the responsible for not reporting. I always report, or I try to keep current. I missed this one, and then I had a real hard time getting back to that calendar year to fix it. But I did do it. I did not respond timely. I do want to say that the PDC staff is remarkable. They've helped me a bunch of times over the last couple of years, especially pre-COVID. And anyway, I plead guilty, and I'll do whatever I need to do. It was the oversight. It was 1 month, and it was in 2021.
Thank you. I will find that Mr. Nugent did violate 4217A, and I will establish a fine of $150, but I will suspend the fine for 4 years if Mr. Nugent makes all of the appropriate filings during that period.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I'll make sure it gets handled.
Take care. Good to hear your voice.
Thank you. Likewise. Thank you all.
All right. So that brings us to lobbyists with no prior violations who failed to file one or more L2s before the hearing. And Tabitha, you're doing this one, right?
I am. So the next group of folks are 5 lobbyists, as you said, who have not filed their reports as of today's hearing, and they are not participating today. We're just going to read these off as a group. The first one is Latanya Lester, PDC case number 105284, and Latanya has not filed reports, L2 reports for March and April of 2021. The next case is Rashia Dickey, PDC case number 105270, and the reports not filed were L2 reports for April and September through December of 2021. The next case is Rob Crabiel, PDC case number 105279, and the reports not filed are for June through December of 2021. The next case is Sharaim Allen, PDC case number 105282, and the report not filed is for April of 2021. And the last one is 2 Degrees Consulting, LLC, PDC case number 105268, and the report not filed is for April of 2021. These individuals are not participating today and haven't provided any materials. So staff is recommending that you find a violation of RCW 4217A615 against these 5 lobbyists for failing to file 1 or more lobbyist L2 reports and assess an appropriate penalty in accordance with WAC 390-37143 for a filer with no prior violations who failed to file L2 reports by the date of the hearing. And the base penalty for that is $250. I'm available for any questions.
So Ms. Lester has 2 that haven't been filed. Ms. Dickey has 5 that haven't been filed. Mr. Kreibel has 6 that haven't been filed, and the other 2 have 1 each.
Yes, but we've last year and this year we've lumped them together as a single violation, at least as far as the penalty amount. So because then the penalty amounts become too high for a brief hearing, so we basically treated them all as a single violation, I guess, at least for purposes of the penalty.
Gotcha. So I will find that all 5 have violated 4217A, and I will find a $250 penalty for each, but I will suspend that penalty for 4 years on the condition that all of the reports are filed within 30 days, and no further reports are not filed.
Okay. 30 days. Right. Thank you so much.
And the next section is reporting modifications, and these are all, if I read them correctly, renewals. Is that correct?
That is correct. Were there any, and there aren't any participants, so were there any of them that you, Mr. Chair, felt like you didn't want to hear them today? You'd rather have them go to a full?
No, I thought I'm ready to rule on all 5 of them.
Okay, well then I will present them, and I told Tabitha and Jordan that they could stay on or they could leave, so these should be quick. Just a second here.
If I were you, I'd leave.
Take your chance and go.
I just might take you up on that. Thank you, Chair Jarrett and Jennifer.
Thank you, Tabitha, and thank you, Jordan. Nice work today.
And I'm wishing you some sunny weather at the beach.
We are eager for sunny weather, despite the concerns about all that radiation.
Oh wow. Well, have fun anyway.
We will. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. So Mr. Chair, these are, before we get started, I wanted to just clarify something for the brief that I didn't clarify last time when Judge Williams was heard, which is why it's back today. I want to be clear that you are okay with, if you grant their modification request, that you are okay with the automatic granting of it for either the duration of their term of office, their current term of office, or for 3 years, if that's applicable. And each of them have that noted on the cover sheet, and the public was able to see those cover sheets before the meeting as well.
Yes, I'm perfectly comfortable with that.
Great. And so the order will indicate that when I send out the orders. So the first applicant is Senator Jamie Peterson, and Senator Peterson is requesting a renewal of a previously granted modification. It has been a couple of years since he's been granted this modification, so this includes a retroactive piece. This is for calendar years 2019, 2020, and 2021, but the information is the same for each year. And he's received this modification, just as an FYI for you, Mr. Chair, since 2014. So it's been significantly, or very insignificant as far as changes. So he's requesting a renewal of a modification that would exempt him from disclosing business and other governmental customers other than state agencies. He always lists the state agencies, even though he could request a modification to not disclose those as well, that paid $12,000 or more for the years 19, 20, and 21 to McKinstry Company, LLC, and McKinstry Ascension, LLC. Mr. Peterson serves as Vice President and General Counsel for both entities. And so the information about the entities and more details about the request are in the cover sheet. I will not read that into the record unless you have questions for me. And this request could be granted. Unfortunately, he has to run this fall, so it could be granted to cover the report that he needs to file for this year. So the one that is due next year, but then he'll have to come back and request another renewal. So it'll be good for a couple of years' time, and then he'll have to request a renewal again. So unless you have questions for me, you can make your ruling.
I will make my ruling. I will rule that we will grant the modification request from Senator Peterson for the period that you referenced.
Excellent. And I believe he is aware now that he'll need to make this request again in a couple of years, but I will remind him specifically when I send out the order to him. So
perfect.
So it's a little bit difficult these days with some people being able to have them granted for more than one time period. So
yes.
So the next one on the list is Judge Matthew Williams. Judge Williams is a Superior Court judge in King County. The reason his request is back is because I failed to specifically ask you last year when his was heard in a BAP, ask you if it could be granted for the duration of his term, and so that's not what the order said. His current term expires at the end of 2025, and this request is being made as a renewal to not disclose the business customers of $12,000 or more that paid to International Sensor Systems, Inc. He serves on the board of directors at that entity. And so this request is just a renewal of the one that you granted last year.
I will rule that we will grant the renewal.
Great. And the next one is Representative Drew Hanson. His is being heard because it's time to hear it again. He was had a request that was granted in 2020 for the duration of his term, and now he has been reelected and has to request a renewal. His current term expires in December 2024, and his request is for his law firm clients. He has also been getting a modification for quite some time, since 2012, and has consistently been giving us the information on his F1 about the clients that he does has direct contact with, and then those that would affect his work with the legislature. Unless you have any questions for me about his request, you can make your ruling.
I will rule that we will grant the renewal request from Representative Hanson.
Great. The next one is Joseph Pratt, and Joseph Pratt's request was heard last year as a candidate, and now he's been elected to that office, so has to request a renewal. And his could be granted through 2027. He is a fire commissioner with King County Fire Protection District number 40. His request is for an entity that he would disclose this on his F1 because of his spouse. The facts are the same as they were last year. And unless you have questions, you can make your ruling.
I will rule that we will grant the reporting modification renewal of Mr. Pratt.
And then the final one is for Carolina's son Woodrow. Hers was also granted in 2020, and so this is coming back as a renewal. She is a state board commissioner or member of the Pollution Control Hearings Board and Shorelines Hearing Board. So her request could be granted for 3 years. And she wouldn't have normally had to come back and request this again, but she had she had another position that she had before that was included. She left that position. And then this will actually allow her to have a little bit more time. The 3 years will be extended now if you decide to grant her request today further than it was in 2020, of course. So so there aren't any changes with hers. This is, again, same as Mr. Pratt. This is for an entity that her spouse is part of that she would normally be required to disclose. It is a local entity, which is, I don't know if that's of interest at all to anyone that's listening, but it's the Olympia Internal Medicine Association, LLC. But she serves on a state board that is also located here. So, but otherwise no changes. Unless you have any questions, you can rule on this one as well.
So I will rule that we will grant Ms. Sun Woodrow's request for a continuation or renewal of the reporting modification.
Great. And as I mentioned, all the orders will indicate the time frame that they're good for. So
cool.
They will understand the next time that they're required to make those requests for renewal. And I don't have anything else. Did you have anything?
Just
right?
sun.
All
just,
right.
just looking for the sun.
And I understand that Commissioner Isserlis will be doing the next FAP. So
yes, we will be out of town, and so Nancy will be filling this role.
Great. We will include her. I will have more modification renewals to send to her. So this will be great.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
I'm going to
Jennifer.
stop.
This went well.
I think so too. I'm going to stop the recording and say goodbye to you and tell you to have a good time at the beach.
We will. You take care.